State of Pakistan. Thank you, Mr. President. A very warm welcome to Mr. William Hague and the PR for convening today's high-level debate. I would also like to take this opportunity to welcome the Secretary General and the Honorable Foreign Ministers of the United States, France, Russia, Germany, Guatemala, and Portugal. Mr. President, sitting in this House today, I start off by referring to your distinguished compatriot in Cambridge, Mr. Stephen Hawkins, and his fraternity who are with him in surveying the universe, specifically in their demarcation of dark space / spaces. These dark spaces constitute the vast majority of the universe today. And in this hall today, I witnessed these spaces in many long diatribes where so much was said and yet not said. Hawkins has cautioned all of us. The dark spaces which constitute the vast majority of the universe are not dormant spaces. These vast spaces in majority will one day unleash their silent fury in time, and he cautions us to be prepared. I believe, Mr. President, so should we be prepared, in so much that we do not say or dare to say in this House today. In North Africa and the Middle East, under discussion today, we have witnessed important developments. My country firmly believes in fulfillment of the aspirations of the people, their right to be the masters of their own destiny, to speak as well as to be heard, and to know our legitimate aspirations, and no effort should be spared in accommodating this. We therefore strongly condemn the use of force against peaceful protesters and violations of human rights wherever they are committed, and irrespective of who the perpetrators are. It's a matter of principle. Being a democratic country firmly committed to the ideals, values, and principles of the United Nations, we believe that the legitimate aspirations of people should be accommodated peacefully, without external interference, and in a manner consistent with sovereignty, unity, and territorial integrity of states. Today, in support of those embattled societies, I once again repeat before this House, please remember, no movement in the world succeeds without external help, including the great revolutions. You cannot stroke them out with a pen. And anyone who seeks to rationalize their principled position riding on the high horse of morality, are very truly need to narrow the distances by treading slowly on what they might even call lowly grounds. But the support that we extend to the legitimate wishes of people has to be within the confines of international law and the United Nations Charter. Interference in internal affairs of sovereign states and supporting concepts like regime change are alien to the ethos of international good neighborliness. The changes in the region we're discussing today have often been referred to as the Arab Spring. The concept of spring brings forth images of rebirth, change and renewal, of warmth and beauty. It should have an air of tranquility and harmony about it. More than anything else, it is a natural process that can neither be forced nor be abrupt. This has to be understood. Winter evolves into spring, and spring brings an end to winter's hardness. This natural process of evolution must therefore be allowed to take its course, not interrupted. So, we welcome change when it is locally led, peaceful, and is an expression of the aspirations of the people. Solutions to problems have to be found by the people themselves and not, I repeat, not imposed from outside. Mr. President, the Jordanian Foreign Minister made a remarkable statement on the 29th of February, Mr. Nasser Joudeh, when he told the Foreign Affairs Committee of the European Parliament, and I keep going back to them time and again, and I quote again, "There is no complete Arab Spring or Arab awakening without peace in the Middle East, and there'll never be peace in the Middle East without a solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict." This, then, in the context of my speech, is a winter of Arab discontent. Can we usher in a vast spring with this winter consistently raising its head? I don't think so. Denial of the Palestinian right to self-determination is at the heart of unrest in the region. For lasting peace in the Middle East, progress on Syria-Israel, Lebanon-Israel conflicts is necessary as well. Israel must withdraw completely from occupying Lebanese lands and the Syrian Golan, in compliance with relevant General Assembly and Security Council resolutions. With the continuation of the Israeli settlement activity, hope for the Palestinians to have a viable state of their own is fading fast. We've had grim reminders of that delivered to us by the recent briefings from the Department of Political Affairs, as well as a number of member states. There's a general belief that the situation in the occupied Palestinian territory is becoming increasingly volatile. Factors like ever-increasing settlement activity, as well as settler violence, continued blockade of Gaza, diminishing economic prospects for the population, vandalization of the holy sites, the plight of Palestinian prisoners, etc., means that the people are at tenterhooks. A small ignition can turn into a big fire. We also condemn any pipe bombs being fired from the Gaza. But we believe the biggest threat to international peace and security arises from this particular aspect. Yet the Council continues not to do anything cogent for the Palestinians. Each time we meet, we are told the Quartet has now discussed this matter. I wait for the day for the Quartet to produce a result that will substantially change the plight of these people. And one of the best things we can do, and we have moved it, that if it is okay for the Gaza to be given provisions, well, we should take a flotilla and land on the beaches and take to them, through the United Nations, the security they require, the food they require. We strongly feel that now is an appropriate time as any to send a strong and unified signal to the occupying power to stop its activities, specifically in land grabbing. There continuously arises a matter I would like to dispel once and for all from here, may or may not succeed. It's basically whenever anyone feels that is Islam or democracy incompatible, and then they answer it by saying it's not incompatible. Only Huntington really believes they're incompatible, and I believe that it is a question of time even there. But I would like to say very emphatically, our Prophet, peace be upon him, basically called all our brothers in Islam as brothers, and then asked them to share their surpluses and share their shortcomings. In my opinion, there is no better manifestation of democracy. Furthermore, he asked the Muslims to reach out to the world in peace. And for reasons of learning, he turned round and said, go to China, which is not a Muslim brother state. It doesn't matter. Shows the vastness of the vision of the person, of the Prophet. And when he said, and he found that things were not good for Muslims in Mecca, where he started out from, he said, go to our brotherly king, the king of Ethiopia, and he will look after you, who happened to be a Christian. This vast reach out shows the beauty of what is already available. We don't need to confer too much distinction on Huntington. I'll conclude this segment by reiterating our support for the Palestinian people in their just struggle for peace and the right to self-determination, and their membership, as was said by my Indian colleague, of the United Nations at the earliest. We feel that the biggest challenge of the Middle East will remain Palestine, and that opportunity is being afforded by this wave of fulfillment of aspirations in the name of the people of the Middle East through the Arab Spring. I feel that the Palestinians should also benefit and not lose. And I reiterate, without resolution of this core issue, as was said by the Foreign Minister of Jordan, we will not be able to see real peace in the region. I would also like to address 5 crucial points raised by the Secretary General in his report, because I believe that these are crucial points. He himself says so. He first speaks of leaders choosing the path of meaningful reform, and people do not want cosmetic changes that give only the merest taste of democracy. Now, I believe that a great American president many years ago spoke of the 4 freedoms. And I believe that there must be a basic intent of the United Nations, of a basic legislative action by the General Assembly and this Council, that what constitutes basically the basic elements of democratic requirement of statehood, in which these freedoms should be enshrined. And everyone who wishes to be a member here must at some stage be able to resolve and come to this particular aspect. So I believe by just saying it as a pillar would not be enough. It would be important to have a minimum legislative induction into all the documents in the world where this is the minimum requirement. Promote pluralism, the rights of minorities. At the moment, we just celebrated International Women's Day. The women get that once a year, and they happen to be a majority in the world. I feel that we have to rectify these matters first. We have to understand that women have a crucial role to play, without which we'll never get anywhere. I also take very strongly his third aspect, that women have stood in the squares and streets demanding change and have now a right to sit at the table with real influence in decision-making and safe from violence, intimidation and abuse. This is happening even now in the Arab Spring. Last week, 8 members of this council sat with women from Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen. And we heard these women and were shocked. And one of the things they said, and I think we should support very strongly here, is that all financing through the United Nations, 25% of it must be earmarked for delivery into the hands of women. Don't forget, they constitute 75% of the world. They ultimately end up feeding, clothing, looking after children, and doing all the work and having to do it. And everywhere they don't get the benefit of their husband's employment. So, they must get. And 25% of all delegations visiting or calling or meeting with the United Nations should be women. Make it necessary that they are part of, they have given more sacrifices than anyone in the spring, as we call it. Then let them be able to fulfill by being a part of this complete change. When we speak about the 4th pillar, opportunities for young people, there are 200 million more in Asia. I think this takes on an importance which cannot be denied. And there must be regional peace, I say, for the Palestinians. If you had a Balfour Act which brought in the state of Israel to where it is today, let's have a Balfour Pact for the Palestinians as well. In the end, in context of world peace and the Middle East, I would like to stress, while we understand all sorts of needs arising on security, I would say it would be better for this region and the whole world if the situation of Iran can be stopped from moving towards conflict. And it will be the sort of conflict which might have a very, very unfortunate impact on the world, and it might be the proverbial last straw which breaks the camel's back on world peace. I hope not. We understand the seriousness of it. We also hope with the accumulated diplomacy here, we can do better. I thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the representative of Pakistan for his statement.